Okay, let's dive into this. We're looking at one of the absolutely most high-stakes, nerve-wracking, geographical choke points on the entire planet, the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it essentially holds the global economy by a single thread.
To truly grasp the stakes here, just think about this number, 20%. Every single day, nearly 20% of the world's oil relies on this one incredibly fragile shipping lane.
And this brilliantly illustrates the sheer volume we're talking about here. 20 million barrels of oil every single day, just squeezing right through this tight corridor. That's roughly a fifth of total global oil consumption. If something, literally anything, disrupts this flow, well, the entire global economy feels the shockwave almost instantly.
But here's where the geography of it all gets really intense. At its narrowest point, the strait is just 21 miles wide. But the actual navigable shipping lanes, they're a microscopic 2 miles wide in each direction. It's like trying to force a massive fire hose of energy through a tiny cocktail straw. And, as you've likely seen in the news recently, tensions in the region have been a stark reminder of just how delicate this choke point is. We're talking seized tankers, warships patrolling the waters, surging insurance premiums for shipping companies. A disruption here doesn't just stay in the Middle East, right? It immediately translates to higher transportation costs and pricier goods on store shelves everywhere, from New York to Tokyo.
And just look at who is sitting trapped behind this bottleneck. You've got a who's who of the absolute largest oil producers on Earth: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. I mean, almost every single tanker leaving these nations literally has no other choice but to pass through this one geographic exit. Talk about a staggeringly dense concentration of risk.
Now, you might be wondering, wait, don't they have pipelines to get around this? And yeah, some countries have absolutely tried. Saudi Arabia built pipelines out to the Red Sea, and the UAE has one connecting over to Fujairah. But actually, scratch that. When you look at the raw numbers, combined, those pipelines carry only a tiny fraction of the oil that travels by tanker. For the vast majority of the world's energy supply, those massive ships, they remain absolutely essential. There's just no way around it.
So that brings us to Section 1, the radical bypass dream.
So, what if ships didn't have to pass through the Strait of Hormuz at all? Let's explore this radical engineering dream that strategists have been debating for decades. Up at the northern tip of Oman lies the Musandam Peninsula. In a few places, there are only a couple dozen miles of land separating the Persian Gulf from the Gulf of Oman. So the thought is, hey, why not just dig a canal straight through it to bypass the choke point? Tankers could just sail directly right into the open ocean. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it highlights that exact quote. It's a brilliant idea on a flat map. Because, in 2D, just drawing a straight line across that land, it looks incredibly easy.
But that leads us directly into Section 2, the harsh geographic reality.
Because, unfortunately for the engineers, our world is not a flat map. The Musandam Peninsula isn't some flat sandy desert you can just neatly shovel away. It's actually part of the Hazar Mountains, literally one of the most rugged, unforgiving landscapes in the entire Middle East. We're talking about sharp, jagged limestone peaks rising dramatically to more than 6,500 feet above sea level. You wouldn't just be dredging a little sand here, you'd literally have to blast your way through entire mountain ranges.
And you really have to juxtapose the immense height of those mountains against the massive size of the ships this canal would need to carry. Modern oil tankers, very large crude carriers, or VLCCs, are among the largest moving objects ever built by humans. They're hundreds of meters long. To accommodate them safely, a canal would need to be unbelievably deep, wide, and perfectly stable. The sheer scale of the excavation required is mind-boggling. We are talking about millions upon millions of tons of solid rock that has to be blasted, cleared, and removed. It would be an environmental and engineering nightmare, essentially reshaping entire mountain ridges.
Let's move to and see how this builds when we look at the financial side of things, because the scale gets even more absurd. Think about the recent Panama Canal expansion, right? A massive feat of modern engineering, and that cost somewhere around $5 billion. A Musandam Canal wouldn't just be a little bit more expensive. Estimates suggest it could easily reach into the hundreds of billions of dollars. That would absolutely dwarf one of the largest engineering projects in recent history.
Moving right along to Section 3, the geopolitical roadblocks.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate. Let's pretend, just for the sake of argument, that we had unlimited money, and the engineering impossibilities were somehow completely solved. You'd still face immense geopolitical roadblocks before you could even break ground. The objective reality here is that the Musandam Peninsula belongs to Oman, and Oman, They have absolutely no official plan or desire to carve up their gorgeous mountains for a shipping lane. Their regional strategy is heavily focused on ecotourism, expanding their existing ports and building up local infrastructure. Plus, to pull off a project of this magnitude, you'd need unprecedented international cooperation, massive foreign investments, and incredibly complex long-term security guarantees. It's a total geopolitical minefield.
Which brings us to our final section, trading one bottleneck for another.
So the crucial point is this. It brings up the ultimate, rather uncomfortable irony of this whole megaproject concept. Even if it was fully funded, politically approved, and totally built, a canal really just moves the choke point somewhere else. Think about it. A single grounded tanker blocking the way, a targeted military strike, or even a severe natural disaster. Literally any of these single events could shut down your shiny $100 billion artificial route overnight. The global economy wouldn't actually be free. We'd simply be trading one highly delicate bottleneck for another.
Which leaves us with this really profound question to wrap things up. For centuries, natural choke points have quietly dictated the flow of energy, goods, and global power. The Musindam Canal is for sure a fascinating dream. It's this ultimate desire to just redraw the map to make our supply chain safer. But reality is incredibly stubborn. Mountains are hard to move, and global politics are even harder. So can we ever truly engineer our way out of the geography that shapes our world? Or will natural choke points like the Strait of Hormuz just continue to hold the keys to the global economy? I'm going to leave you to ponder that one. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope it gave you a brand new perspective on the fragile threads connecting our modern world.